My name's Adele Onyango, and welcome to another episode of Legally Clueless. No, seriously, I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Hey you, welcome to episode 235 of Legally Clueless. If you are an OG member, thank you so much for rocking with this podcast. If you are brand new, welcome to the family. It's so awesome to have you here. Audio episodes like this go out every single Monday. Make sure you join our cozy corners of the internet. Our Instagram is Legally Clueless Africa. Our TikTok as well. Links to that are in the show notes. Check out our video series and our tour series, which are on our YouTube channel. We've linked that in the show notes as well. And make sure you sign up to be getting our newsletter. Just go to our website, legallycluelessafrica.com. And you're joining just in time because we have a new series coming out. Yes, a new video series from Legally Clueless is coming out. It's called Legally Clueless After Hours. I'm doing my happy dance. No, seriously, I'm super excited about this. Episode 1 is out on the 15th of September, which is this Friday. And we're going to be on this show catching up with some of your favorite storytellers. So what's going to be happening is you get to nominate which storyteller you want us to bring to After Hours. And then we're just going to go and catch up with them. Simple as that. The first couple of episodes we're going to weave through were the famous curtains returned, dating after 2 marriages, and how love helped with healing through an ADHD diagnosis. I can't wait. I can't wait to share this with you because it's so wild to conceptualize something in your head, and not just myself, but everybody involved in the project. And then to see it come out, such a high, such a high. So I can't wait for you to watch it. Episode 1 goes live Friday, 15th of September on our YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel right now. I know we've been very dormant. That is the word, dormant on YouTube. Well, it was just strategic, honestly, because this year we needed to focus on building our workshops and our events. And we just didn't have the capacity to do both at the same time. But now the family of Legally Clueless Africa is expanding, and we have a workshops lead. We have somebody doing events. So we are going to be producing a lot more for our video series. Sorry, that pauses me doing my silent happy dance. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And since you're part of the family, we could really use a share, because very many people know us as only a podcast, but we do have video shows. We have 3 seasons of a video series. We have an entire tour series. There's some dope African content and shows there. So share it with your peeps so that the family can expand and grow. Okay, let's get back to this episode. I'm very excited about it, by the way. So much is jam-packed in here. In fact, I shouldn't be talking too long because I don't want this to be like a 2-hour long episode. So I have to say, I'm really loving interacting with African men. The stories that we've been recording are just so inspiring. If you think about Kevin from Tukalime, Lionel, and redefining masculinity, Ian, just the other day, and his monk journey and just the self-awareness. My goodness, you know, in the world that we're in, with the manosphere and a lot of toxic masculinity, you can think that that's all there is, but it's not. And we're going to continue with that journey in this episode. We're off to Gaberone, or Gaberone, or just Gabs, which is the capital of Botswana. And we're going to catch up with an artist whose song I am obsessed with right now. Listen to this.
I'm from Zimbabwe originally, but I was born in Botswana and in a city called Gaberone. But financially, my family was never in a very stable situation. I moved to Zim for some time because my parents couldn't afford to put me through school for some time. My uncle, who was opening a school in Harare at the time, he was just like, yeah, if it's rough, just send him over here. My uncle was a pastor. He's super, super spiritual. It was to the extent that you can't watch secular movies, can't listen to secular music. Yeah, it's like you're on lockdown 24/7. The sad part was just during that whole 2 years when I was away, they would barely communicate, they'd barely reach out. They wouldn't send anything. I think that for me in my mind just would make me wonder if they actually cared. I'm your child, for crying out loud. Do something, move.
That is Jordan Moozy, and his story is coming up in a bit, and I'll let you know how I got to link up with him. Not really, because we've never met. But let me tell you, there's a lot of self-awareness that's coming up in a bit. Jumping into Song of the Week, the first time I ever interacted with anything Jordan was when someone, aka Phil, I'll tell you about Phil in a bit, sent me Jordan's song. And I was just like, who is this man? I love this song and I want to know more about him. And so the song that Phil sent me is the song that I want to share with you today. It's called Air. And oh my goodness, I'm going to break my rule and play you a snippet of the song.
I guess we finally keep, baby. Take a little communicating. We're finally done debating. Tonight I'm feeling too wavy. Elementary, baby. Let's kick it back to basics. Can't let them birthday, but we together build. Gathering coins to settle the bill. Sex in the car, conversations after dark. Your turf, my turf, we can kick it anywhere. Beware of the face that appear when you're too hot. No one can replace you in my heart, it's your spot. We hop to the bop when we rock like it's hopscotch.
It's such a beautiful song. It's such a beautiful song. It's one of my most played songs right now. You know how I always say the shea butter thing? Oof. It's such a yummy song. It's just a yummy song. It gives you good vibes and I love it. And what I also love is that we're going to get to know the artist behind the song a little better in a bit. Okay. I do hope you've had a great week. I have had a week with range. That's what I'm calling it. Because I think, because my period is in the horizon. First and foremost, I just had like 5 different pimples on my face that were so huge. One of them had a shadow. I was just like, my goodness, why? And so because of that, my emotions were all over the place. But I'm choosing to refer to it as a week with range. So on one end, there were days and hours where I was very chill, just gardening, you know, one with nature, with my flowers and my plants. And on the other end, I was crying on the phone to my partner because my work email servers were down. I legit was crying. And then immediately after that cry session, like literally 5 to 4 minutes afterwards, I jumped on a client call and was just like boss babing it. Hey, tell me that's not range. It's fucking range. Oh my goodness. I just want my period to come and be done with it. Anyway, I'm also super excited for the upcoming group therapy session. It's on the 16th of September, which is this coming Saturday. And we only have 6 slots left. So if you wanted to come through, make sure you grab your tickets ASAP. We've put a link to that in the show notes, or you can just go to legallycluelessafrica.com. Our therapist, yeah, she's yours and mine now, Faith, will be helping us navigate grief. I feel like grief, and specifically grief caused by the death of a loved one. And I feel like this specific type of grief is one of the pillars of this podcast. Because remember, way back in episode 1 when I was starting and I just like quit my job that was like a super glamorous job. I was so scared of the unknown, of failure. The one person I wanted to be able to talk to in that moment was my mom, and she passed away 11 years ago. So I used to talk, and I still do talk about my grieving journey a lot. And a lot of you have connected with that. So I think this is one of those sessions that has been a long time coming. I can't wait for it because I think there are certain new themes I'm discovering around my grief. There have been new developments I've gone through in life where I had hoped or had wished to have my mom with me and she wasn't. And so, yeah, I think I'm probably throwing this for myself. But come through, man. 6 slots left. Our therapist, Faith, will be helping us just walk through all of this. And I did reach out to her and I asked her what are some of the things she'll walk us through. And there are 2 things she said that I want to share with you. One, we kind of know, but I'm not going to assume we all know. 5 stages of grief definitely is going to be coming up. But did you also know that there are different grief personalities too? Listen to this.
Okay, we have what we call the denial. We have what we call the anger. We have what we call the bargaining, where you bargain with God. Then there's a depression that this person is not coming back, and even the realization that truly they are dead. And there's acceptance, where you're able now to say, true, I cannot have them back, they died. But not even after the 5, before then there's a shock. The shock of realizing you have lost a loved one. There are times you accept. In fact, there are times when maybe the first few weeks or first few days, you will hear people saying, I've accepted. When literally they've not even gotten to the shock, not even denial. They have not gotten to the shock of it. So yes, you can go through the 5 grief cycle, but still go back to denial, go back to shock, go back to anger, then come again at acceptance, and still go back to maybe bargaining, to asking God questions. So it's not pegged on a straight line. We grieve emotionally, we don't grieve logically. So when you put on a timeline, you are putting on some expectations on your bit that you will not be able to achieve. The person who has died, you mourn depending on the relationship you had with the loved one. Now, for example, if my mom died in 2005, she was not only a mom to me. So I am mourning her being a mom, being a friend, being a confidant, being my go-to person, being my cheerleader, being my all that. That may take longer vis-a-vis when you are just mourning someone who has died and you didn't have a relationship. So the mourning period is mostly pegged on the relationship you had with the person who has died. So grief, there's no timeline for grief. There's also maybe what I need to say where we grieve differently. We have what we call the 5 personality, grief personality. We have now the 5 grief personality where one is a nomad. A nomad will go through the 5 grief cycle and still go back to denial. No, why did you die? So the nomad will go into a cycle with the 5 grief cycle, and it may take longer to really deal with the grief. And we have what we call the normalizer. Normalizer, for example, if my mom died and I didn't have a good relationship with my dad, I would want to make sure that I have good relationship with my dad so that I don't feel guilty when he dies that I didn't reconcile with him. So normalizers make relationships better of the persons or the people who are living, so they don't feel guilty of like, that one has died and we're not in good terms. We have what we call the seeker. The seeker, they go now into their spiritual realm. Where did this person go to? Are they in heaven? Are they in hell? How does hell look like? They get into a spiritual world. We have what we call the activist. The activist, for example, my mom died of a heart condition. So if I was an activist, I would make sure that I have heart foundations, that no one dies from such a cause. For example, if your mom, and if your person, dad, mom, whoever, the significant other dies because of a condition, if you are small and if you are taking care of them, sometimes you find yourself getting into the helping career so that you're able to help someone so that no one really dies around. And I'm not saying you all choose career based on that, no. That is the activist. Then finally, we have what we call the memorialist. A memorialist is someone who wants to keep every memory of the person who has died. If it's, for example, if it's a dress, I want to keep that dress to myself. I want to keep their phone to myself. I don't want the phone to be switched off. I want to be seeing the messages. I want to be seeing the photos. I want to be seeing the videos. This is the kind of person who will remind others in the group that, imagine my mom or my dad, our significant others is a week old since they died, a month, 2 months, 3 months, 1 year, 10 years. They will be going to the burial site to place flowers. They will be celebrating or mourning on that day. So they are okay seeing. And this is where you have portraits, for example, of a loved one on the wall. If you are not a memorialist, you would want to remove them. A memorialist would want to keep them and watch. In fact, keep a portrait next to her bed or next to their bed, where they are able to see their significant other. And maybe other people may not maybe understand or reconcile with that. So it's good to know what grief personality are you.
Oh my goodness. You know, there is a power in naming feelings and characteristics along your grief journey. You kind of calm down once you know you're not spiraling, that maybe that's just how you're grieving. Also, what helped me, and I really want to be able to ask Faith this more on Saturday, is that I used to think the 5 stages of grief are like a road trip, and once you get to the destination, you're light and you're good. I didn't know that you can keep circling back, which is what has happened to me so often. And so I was like, oh man, for a long time, I thought the problem was me. Yeah, so there's so much she's going to be walking us through. Also, just like how grief impacts your identity, your beliefs. There's many people who, when grieving the death of a loved one, completely stop being religious or become super religious. You can not want to love anyone else again, because what if they die? You can live a life of fear because, like, who's next? We're going to be walking through all of that on Saturday. So grab your tickets, 6 slots left. Just go to legallycluelessafrica.com, or you can click the link in the show notes. So let's jump into 100 African stories. My friend Phil, who I met when we went on tour to Zimbabwe, which was just, Akizim, I miss you so much. I miss you so much. I just want to come back. Okay, that was a tangent. But I met Phil in Zim, and you've heard him on the podcast. He's one half of Two Broke Twimbos. Yeah. And he's also in our Zimbabwe episode on our tour series. What Phil also does is run a super successful company that does many things around music on the continent, including managing artists, and he's super great at it. He's always sharing music on his Instagram, and for me, when you share one song that I end up liking, I just become committed to all the songs you shall share henceforth, because you have passed the vibe test. So some time back, as I said earlier, he sent me the song Air by Jordan Moozy, and I'm like, Phil, who is this guy? This song is really it. Who is this artist? When is his next gig? Can I attend? I'm so glad that we were able to get together with Jordan and virtually record his story, because it's one thing loving his music, and it's another thing finding very similar pockets or finding parts of my experience in his story that is just so powerful. So this is part 1. I'm so glad that we got Jordan on this podcast. He is absolutely self-aware, such a deep artist, committed to helping people heal through his music, which I think is so powerful. 100 African stories on Legally Clueless. Stories from Africa.
My name is Jordan Moozy, and I'm from Zimbabwe originally, but I was born in Botswana, in a city called Gaberone, which is the capital city. Basically, how it was so like I've spent most of my time here in Gabs. The situation would be my parents are very spiritual, so the only reason we'd go back home was not to see family, but to like they'd go for church. We used to have these church conventions that would happen like during your like Easters, your Christmas, like just during like special times for the Christian community. I guess that would be the time they'd use to be like, oh, let's check on so and so, let's check on this uncle, let's check on this auntie, let's check on this cousin. So like I don't really know my family that well. I just know the ones I got the pleasure of meeting during that time. I don't also know Zim that well, because like, yeah, that's the only time we'd only go in. Like it would be for like a short period of time. It would be for like 7 days, like a weekend. So Bots is really what I'm very familiar with. Bots is really what feels like home, mostly because this is where I have built a foundation, like placed my feet down and been like, yeah, this is home. I think like just based on my memories from childhood, I don't want to call it traumatic, because like traumatic would be very dramatic, but financially my family was never in a very stable situation. What I'd remember is because they were very spiritual, they'd often try to protect us from the world, because like they felt like there's a lot of crazy stuff going on, and they just wanted to surround us with like a Christian environment. Basically, it would be like school every day, and then Sunday is church. School every day, Sunday is church. And then they also used to be like these midweek services that would also happen. So like for like a huge portion of my childhood, that was how life was, that was like all I knew. So like even the music that I would be exposed to was just Christian music that my mom would play. And like most of my friends would be from the church. So like they really tried to keep us from just experiencing things outside the world that they couldn't control. I think my emotional state while experiencing that was I used to be very reclusive. Like I'd pull myself away from sort of, because like my parents tried their best to like put me and my siblings through private schools. So when you're going to like a private school, majority of everybody is is racked up. I'd always put myself in a position where I felt like I wasn't good enough, so I always felt like I had to overcompensate. So like in school, I had to be the smartest. In sports, I had to be the most talented, just so that I could be accepted by like the people that were around. Not that they knew what was happening around me, but like I think just in my like things are always bigger in your imagination, So like I would always create this world where it felt like they could see what was happening at home and like what my situation was. You also like experience a deep longing when people talk about, oh, we went on vacation here this weekend, we did this, we traveled to ABC 123, So like as a kid you look at that and you're just like, you wish you had that. You wish you had some of the opportunities that they were capable of having. Like sometimes on school trips, when you think about saying, yeah, I want to do the school trip, you already know that it's going to be a situation of, oh, we can't afford this, we can't afford that. So like it just put me in a position where I kind of almost didn't want people to know about my life, and like I wanted to always control the narrative of how people viewed me. And when they tried to experience me in depth, I would create a wall just to create this facade of everything is okay and like I'm fine. It's something I generally still battle with letting people in, because it's just something that was, I think, like it was built over like a long time. There's some friends of mine that I do make music with. There's an artist in Botswana called Datu Seiko, as well as our pianist, because we share a band, and his name is Tabiso. So it was not really like a conscious decision to say, yeah, I'm going to let you in. But I think they are the first time I got to feel genuine love, because like just over time, like at first we just started jamming together because in Botswana, like the music scene here, the live music scene is not very prominent. Like there's not really a lot going on. So we used to volunteer at a place called House of Young, and the House of Young is basically a place that's run by a lady called Mabunteta, and what she does is she tries to uplift children in the community through theater and music, just to help them like boost their confidence and like equip them with skills that when they're older, they don't struggle with like, just incorporating themselves into society and being vocal about who they are and what it is they want, and not shying away from their individuality. So we used to host like open mics there. I'm a live performer, so that's kind of what contributed to me being as good as I am today. So we used to host these every last Friday of the month. We used to hang out a lot, because like I remember there was a time where we just come and like write music and like compose songs almost every day. And it kind of developed a bond, because from there we were just teenagers who, were excited about music and stuff. But from that, we started getting gigs, because like we'd post a lot of our stuff on social media, and like a lot of people here would be interested and be like, oh, that's super dope. We want to sign up some of that. So we started gigging together. Eventually we started forming. At the time, we weren't very conscious of it, because like it was just really centered around composing and making music. But like in the midst of that, life situations started happening. We started hanging out, we started having quarrels, we'd fight sometimes. I think the most shocking thing was, even when things got messy, we'd always naturally gravitate to each other. I'm the type of person, because of my childhood, if things aren't going a way that I like, I'm the type of person to be like, yeah, we're not doing that. I'm out. And like with them, it wasn't like a easy thing for me to do. Like even when I'd feel like, yeah, I'm done, I'd always find myself coming back, gravitating back to them, because it's just like, and I'd always ask myself, why is this the case? Yeah, I think low-key then I realized that these are my family, these are my people. I can't remember my precise age when I realized that I was into music, but like I kind of remember the story vaguely though. My mom was a Sunday school teacher. I think she kind of used me to make like a prime example for all the other kids. So I'd sing lead. And like at first it was just like, it's like a mandatory thing, like you have no choice, you know. But I guess from singing, you get those people who come to you after and just tell you how much they were touched by how you sang, how it made them feel a certain type of way. I never really understood that. At the time, it was just like, oh, wow, I did great, you know. So like, I'll just take the compliment. But like, I never really understood the depth of it until when I moved to Zim for some time, because like my parents couldn't afford to like put me through school for some time. My uncle, who was opening a school in Harare at the time, was just talking to my mom, and he was just like, yeah, if it's rough, you know, just send him over here. So I moved to Zim, and I think that was like for a period of 2 years, and I think that was during my Form 1. And during that time, it was even worse because, you know, imagine your situation is not like, you guys are not financially stable, and you've sent your kid out there. So now I'm kind of at the helm of somebody else's kindness, you know, which was weird because like I grew up living with my parents, and now I'm living with somebody else. I don't know how exactly that is going to go, because like, you know, your parents are your parents. Like they can't give up on you whether they want to, but like this is somebody else. So now it's a situation where I'm already reclusive and somebody who corners themselves, and now I'm in different territory. So that just became worse. I was just like, at this point in time, I'm grateful for an opportunity. I just want to make everybody comfortable, you know, because like already I'm feeling like my existence is a burden on people. Now in that space, my uncle was a pastor. He passed away some time back. Now he's like super spiritual. Like it was to the extent that you can't watch secular movies, can't listen to secular music. Yeah, it's like you're on lockdown 24/7. And his sons, they play soulful jazz. I remember one of them, his name is Shalom. He went by Purewood at the time, and he was playing in a band. And like he would rehearse all the time, and like I'd watch him rehearse, as well as his little brother. His name is Hava. They'd always be jamming, they'd always be gigging. I never got the pleasure of seeing them play outside, you know, because like I was always at the house most of the time. But I'd always see them rehearse. Like it was just very fascinating to see expression come out that way. You know, I think the first album I got to listen to like properly, like a secular album, was off of Shalom's iPod, sorry. And I think it was Watch the Throne by Jay-Z and Kanye West. At the time, it was weird because I was just trying to figure out what's going on, what kind of sound is this? And a particular favorite was No Church in the Wild, which is still a personal favorite of mine. I got curious, you know, because like they've got like a piano in the room, they've got a guitar in the room. So like sometimes I just go into Shalom's room and grab like his guitar, try to play, but like of course I didn't know what I was doing. So like now I'm frustrated because I'm just like, I'm trying to play this damn thing, but like I can't figure it out. There was a music teacher at my school. His name was Shepherd Mzite. So I told myself, I was just like, I've got to figure a way to learn, because like I think my cousin always thought I was just annoying because I'd always ask him to teach me, but like he'd be like, yeah, I will. But like he never would. From Shepherd, my teacher, he like taught me like a few basics, you know, like your basic C, D major. I started off learning like that. I'd always ask him questions. I'd be like, okay, why is this like this? Why is this like that? And he was kind enough to always help me and figure out how to go about things. And that eventually ventured into me performing at like the school assemblies and whatnot. I think music was also good for me because I was a person who didn't have friends. So like when I was really sad, I would pick up an instrument and play. I'd write, but my writing wasn't that great. But like it was very therapeutic to express myself through song, you know, just hearing how beautiful it could come off. And I think even today, music is still an escape, because like some of the things I still battle with. It's just a way to translate that emotion, because I think one of the things that I realized from like just writing music and like performing for people is that the story I have to tell correlates with certain things that certain people are feeling. It's kind of paved a direction for how it is I want to express and make my music, which is to heal people from whatever situation they could be going through, and sometimes it's not even bad, it's just something like it could be vibes, like where it's just like some people want to feel happy, some people are feeling sad, and they need that kind of symphony that expresses that, that can carry them through that time. So when I come back to Gabs, it's a situation of I think also like just my uncle and my auntie, like it was a situation of like financially, I think I was also straining them because my parents were going through whatever it is they were going through. They were also bearing the brunt of me being there, and like I think it was also a lot, and I could see that as much as they also were extending that kindness, I could also see that it was taking a toll on them, and like sometimes like the way they'd express their uncomfortability would be expressed in how they speak sometimes. And because I'm somebody who like I'm never trying to be the problem in a situation. I'm always trying to be, I'm just trying to have everybody be at peace. I'm not trying to ruffle anybody's feathers. I would always pick that up. It's something that I can always pick up because I'm just hypersensitive to, causing problems for people, because like I've always felt like I'm the problem. I decided, you know what, I think I want to go back. So when I came back, it's a situation of at least I'm in familiar territory. This is a place where whatever happens, at least I am in a space as my parents. What can they do? Like, it's fine, it's better. I think at that time is the time where just musically I'm kind of getting into a flow of things. I'm trying to get better at guitar. I've come back to the life where it's church every Sunday, and then weekdays it's school. Not that it changed when I went to Harare, thinking about it. But like I think now I had some more independence, because I think I took advantage of the fact that because my parents didn't have a firm hold on me in terms of what they could provide for me, I sort of manipulated that into an excuse for me to rebel and sort of do what I wanted to do, because like I think it sort of gave me a reason to be like, listen, you're not doing ABC and 1 2 3 for me, so like I'm just gonna do me, So like I would make them feel guilty, like just so that I could have that piece of my independence. I think also like just the sad part was just like during that whole 2 years when I was away, they would barely communicate, they'd barely reach out, they wouldn't send anything. I think that for me in my mind just would make me wonder if they actually cared, about me. Because it's just like, you're not even going to, like, I'm the one who has to reach out. I'm the one who has to call to say, what's up? I'm your child, for crying out loud. Do something, like move. So now I'm writing music a lot more. I'm playing my guitar because like when I came back, I bought myself a guitar. So me and my friend, I've got one of my best friends, his name is Asha. When I came back, I used to like to rap a lot. His father was a pastor as well, and he went to the church that my parents were going to. So like when we reconnected, when I came back, like we would rap together, and we just said, you know what, let's start a rap group. We're going to call it Reckless Motion. We started doing that. Some of my friends also in Zim. So like when we go to like conventions in Zim, there was a couple of friends that we had. They rapped as well, and we were just like, yeah, let's do this thing. Let's make it solid. Like if you guys are rapping here and we're rapping that side, we can have a hold in Botswana. We can have a hold in Zimbabwe as well. So it became a thing where like we would make plans, but like we never really did see them through because like we're teenagers. I think we're like 14, 15. We don't have the type of money to sustain anything. Not that we were even that great, but like it's vibes, in your mind, in our minds, it was big. It was bigger than life, So like we were very committed to making it work. They would record some songs in Zim. We would record some songs in here, like in Bots, and like we only ever released one. Because like financially we couldn't afford like studio time that consistently. And I think one of those songs, it was a situation where we didn't know how to put it on Apple or like on Spotify. So like there was one of these links where you could download for free that we put up, and like we used to make like big sacrifices to just go record. Like we'd travel long distances, because like one of the things is when your dream is big and like people don't care about you because like they don't give you the time of day to like just sit down and listen to what you have to offer, or if they feel like your name is not prominent enough, like you just find yourself in a position where you're very radical. And like imagine as a kid who's not really like, you're not yet cynical, so like you're just willing to do anything and everything. So I remember like that one of the songs that we recorded, we took a bus ride to, there's a village called Tamaha. We took a bus ride there, and like just be from whatever coins we'd managed to compile and keep together. Because I remember, because like we'd go to church every Sunday and we were so passionate about recording, me and my friend, like sometimes we'd be like, okay, what can we do to make a quick buck to sustain this dream that we want to push. So it'd be a situation where we're just like selling lollipops after church to like the kids, get like would buy like drinks like your Fantas, your Coca-Colas, and like we'd sell that, like just to find ways to like just afford to like push this dream, you know, and sustain ourselves and make something out of it. So like, yeah, one of those, I actually still have one of those songs that like I listen to it sometimes, you know, because like it's just the reminder, you know, of how far I've come. That song was called Dreaming. Yeah, it's just not that great of a song. Sometimes when I'm not feeling my best and feeling like, you know, music is not working out the way I'd want it to work out, it's just a song I listen to just to remind me that even when I wasn't where I am now, that drive was still alive. And it's that drive that's brought me to where I am. I think me and my friend, we kind of continued for some time in this rap group. We even incorporated her sister. Her name is Tandi. And I was singing and rapping. She was singing. He was rapping. And like, I remember we'd do like some poetry shows. We'd perform at like intimate spaces most of the time. So it was not really a commercial situation yet. It was just, you know, we just find whatever vibe is popping off, just trying to create a name for ourselves. But eventually I had to drop out of school because my parents' financial situation just never improved. So I had to drop out because like it was a situation where I could see the financial strain that it was causing them. And as much as they didn't want to give in, it was not helping anybody, because my sister was also in varsity and she had to finish. At the time, I was just like, you know, it's cool. Let her finish and then we'll see what I do after. At least it's like, just realistically, it's easy for you to put her through first and then you'll deal with me. And I think that was about the time when I was in Form 4. When that happened, I kept busy by, you know, just pushing the music, you know. The people I was in the crew with, Asha and Tandi, had to leave because there was a situation where the church we were at split up, and then now their parents had to leave because Asha's father was the pastor, like the senior pastor. And when the church split, he had decided to go to the other side. Like my parents had chosen the other side. So like their living situation was they were living in a house that was owned by the church. So now they had to move, and also like now like their residency and like permit situation is now hectic because like they were working for the church. So now, because that's not the case, now they have to restructure and realign their lives. At first, Asha had to go to school in China. Is it China or Russia? It was China. So he had to go to school in China. While that's the case, his family is moving back to Zim. They were also in South Africa for some time. I can't really particularly remember in what order it was, but I remember there was a time when they were moving around a bit because like, yeah, they were just trying to figure life out. That meant we were back to square one. Now I was just pushing music alone, and I had to figure out my life and figure out how exactly I wanted to push. I had to like just cope, to deal with the circumstances that I'm faced with, like regarding my situation. Just to cope, I had to tense up and like build like a stone heart. Like let me phrase it like that, so that I can barely feel anything. A lot of people say that I'm very brutal, like very sharp tongued, And I think it's derived from that, because in that situation, to cope, I had to sort of become numb and like just take everything as it comes. So now it's just like when something happens, I can sit and wallow, because like when I was younger, I did that, or I can figure out what rationally makes sense, what's realistic, and go with what's realistic and keep going and figuring it out. So in my mind, it sort of built some resentment towards, like, because as much as I'm being selfless, you know what I mean, I still feel like I still aspire for like a fair chance like everybody else, you know, but that's not my story. So like I said, you know, you have to go with the realistic option. So now I'm sort of doing what I want to do and like trying to figure my life out. So like when somebody has an opinion on what it is I should do, if it's not working cohesively with what it is I'm doing, then I don't want to hear it. And I think like just the whole situation just built friction between me and my family, where for me, it's just like sometimes it's almost as if they don't see what's going on, or like they don't understand the depth of what it is that you went through. And like when you just express yourself and, you know, you say, this is what ABC and 1, 2, 3 is, it's as if they just want you to shake it off and, you know, just move on with life. So like, it's just a concept I never understood, because like, I think, you know, sometimes we do try to have the conversation. My parents are very old school. So for them, when you try to have the conversation and like, because like they've always just wondered, you know, why I'm very headstrong and like, I'm just like, nope, if we're not doing that, if we're not doing it this way, I don't want to do it. They always have a problem with it. Like they wonder what's going on. For me, when I do try to express, you know, their reasoning is always, you know, we come from a different generation. With our parents, we never interacted on such a level where you express your emotions and put them on the table. It was always just like there was a gap between you and your parents. There was a distance, like you guys didn't interact like that. So we don't understand how exactly was supposed to flow with this wave that you are trying to introduce us to. So yeah, it just put me in a position where I'm already a reclusive guy, and like now I'm now super reclusive. I had to tell myself that, okay, like I'm out of school, I need something that I'm going to believe in and something that I'm going to make work to like just change my situation and the situation for everyone around me. And like, because I was passionate about music, like music became that thing. So now in my mind, I'm like, I don't know what that thing that thing they put on donkeys to make them face one way so they don't face the other way. I don't know what it's called, but like I'm that guy. All I can see is success, and I see one path. It's what I have to make work, because like now it's clear I can't depend on people. Now I'm in a situation where everything else that people suggest, like if I don't feel like it's positively trying to upgrade or uplift, you know, sometimes it can, like, some people give you positive criticism, I can take that. But like if I felt like somebody was trying to take away from the fire that was burning in me, like it's a situation of, nope, we're not listening to that. I kind of had to shape and mold it, because like at that time for me it was like, I'm young, you know what I mean? So like I'm kind of working on my emotional maturity. So like when it would come out, it would not come out, it wouldn't be very cute. It was very radical and it was like all over the place. But like now I'm at that point in time where I sort of have I have a better understanding, you know, and a better way of expressing that, you know, without it being so chaotic. So like, yeah, I just think at that time, like it just sparked, like I just had to be numb and like just put feelings aside and be like, yeah, here, feelings are not going to carry you the distance that you want to go. You kind of have to put them aside, and like you have to be a trooper and you have to do what you have to do. Also seeing my friends go and travel and pursue their dreams, for me it was just like, it stung a bit, because you know when you're in school together, like at the time, and everybody is cheering you guys on and saying, yeah, you guys should do this. So like when other people precede you and like continue to go do whatever it is they do, you can almost feel, I don't know if I should call it ridicule, let me not call it ridicule, but along the lines of like, you can see kind of like the disappointment in people's eyes, where they kind of look at you like, you are less than, or like you are a failure. Let me put it like that. That one of the reasons why I had to numb myself was because I had to kind of avoid feeling that way. Because like, as you grow older, you kind of learn that whatever your situation is, you can't compare yourself to other people's situations, and like you should never give people that much control on you. People's opinions don't matter as long as you're trying your best. That's what you learn as you're older. So like, while I'm younger and I don't have that kind of advice to tell me that, just keep working on yourself and like, don't mind what people think. For me, it's chaotic in my head because I'm just like, everybody's opinion, I can feel it, you can see it in their eyes, you can see it in the way they speak. You sort of start to avoid the question of what do you do? What are your plans? Remember, music is something that the music at the time is something that I'm sort of figuring it out. I don't have like a particular blueprint as to how I want to do it. So now when people ask, hey, what are you doing? That's a question I used to avoid. I used to avoid that question so much, because like it would annoy me. I'd also never want to meet new people, not new people per se, but like I wouldn't want to go into depth during conversations with people because like that question would come up. You know what I mean? I think I was scared of feeling lesser than the next person. So yeah, again, that's why being stone cold was a thing, because I had to be hard. I had to avoid breaking down and having people start to pity me or feeling like something's wrong or feeling like I don't have my act together.
Catch more African stories in the next episode of Legally Clueless. Wasn't that a trip and a half? And I just love how, the word is self-aware. Just self-aware and grounded he is. And even just like the analysis he has of how he acted in moments in his past vis-a-vis where he is now. So inspiring. And next week, we'll truly get into how much his music career grew from this point on. So make sure you listen to next week's episode. We have put a link to his YouTube in the show notes. Go and show him some love. We've also put links to his Instagram, so make sure you head over there as well. I think as Africans, we need to start connecting with each other, even when it comes to the arts. Another thing I want to say, if you connect with a storyteller or with an artist, or you really like something they've done, tell them. I think sometimes online we see a lot of amplification of what we dislike and what we hate. But especially for creators of things, it means so much when you give me feedback of what you connected with that I created. It makes the creation cycle come full circle. So if you love his song, which is on Song of the Week, if you connected with parts of his story, well, part 1, tell him. Why not? You know what I mean? And wouldn't it be dope for him to receive love from different parts of the world? Oh, I like what we're doing here. But when I was editing his story, I asked on my socials about your experiences if you lived with your relatives, not your parents, while you were in your childhood, if that kind of happened to you. And I want to share some responses in a bit, but I just wanted to say that even when it was a decision, which is just so wild, even when it was a decision that was done for the betterment of the child, in his situation, it's finances. I also experienced it because of finances. There was a divorce going on and a lot of instability. And sometimes even when the relatives are great, there are still some abandonment feelings that come with that shift. Can you imagine? It's hectic. I feel like this is a chapter in my story that I'm currently addressing in therapy. And I hope one day I can deep dive into it with you, but I'm just not there yet. Give me time. However, some of the responses were just absolutely heartbreaking. And I asked if the experience was negative or positive, and how it expanded you. And there's someone who told me, I'll have you know, my sister washed utensils while my aunt's children were doing homework. Someone else is horrible. All I can say is work hard so your children aren't used as free house helps. Someone else says, I will never forget my aunt saying, I'm just doing you a favor, you have miserable parents. Someone else says, mine was traumatizing from being kicked out late hours and accused of sleeping with my uncle. Oh my goodness. Someone else says, I nearly died of depression and hard labor. We need to talk about this because culturally this happens a lot in many African cultures, but there's a lot to unpack there. I don't know. Let me jot that down because maybe that can be its own episode? I don't know. You tell me. Is that an entire episode you'd want to have? Maybe we can get Faith, our therapist, to jump in. Let me know on our Instagram page. Okay, next week, part 2 of Jordan's story is going to be coming up. In the meantime, if you're in Kenya, remember you can catch us on Trace FM every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. All you have to do is go to traceradio.co.ke to stream. And since 16th September is our next group therapy session, and the theme is navigating the grief that comes with the death of a loved one. What I'm going to leave you with is what Faith, our therapist, I'm sharing her with you, man. On what Faith says you can expect at the session. There are only 6 slots left, so grab yours quick.
To hear from others, to also understand where they are at in their grief cycle, and also to expect support. We are here to give them support for them to have the courage to heal. Kindly do not sit there. Come, let us process the death, because sometimes it can get very complicated. No one is strong. We are all vulnerable. Let us process. And it's not going to be a seminar. It's for us to all talk, because I believe me and Adele have also lost. So we'll be in that group talking about the loss and our journey. So it's just about the letting out. Where are you at? Knowing where you are at. What still makes you angry? What triggers? What are your regrets? Do you feel guilty about something?
That's it for this episode of Legally Clueless. You can share this podcast with your friends. You can keep it for yourself. I'm not judging. Just make sure you're here next week for the next episode.